Hey everybody, welcome to an episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly, a bearded man of real estate. My name's Ray. I'm excited about this week. We had to miss last week because of broker classes. They're actually still going on this week, but I have enough of a gap so I can fit in a show. So thanks everybody for joining us. We have a lot to talk about today. There's quite a bit of real estate tea. There's quite a bit of economic news. But there's nothing more newsable, that's not a word, than the Fed. So thanks for joining us today. It's episode 289, broadcast live Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Will the Fed drop rates and our secret listings making a comeback? That's what we're talking about today. So thanks everybody for joining us and thanks for your support. Because of your support on YouTube, we are actually a YouTube partner. That's cool. So you can go over there and chat. Anywhere you are, basically you can chat and I can see it except for very few places. So if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, you can chat and I can display your chat and talk about you, especially if you're over there on YouTube. There's like a whole different community over on the YouTube side. So Olivier is first, beating out Matt LaMarche, which Matt says how, and Olivier says he's getting old. He says, Matt says he needs a new Porsche to get faster. So thanks everybody for joining us. Let's get right into it because I do have to get back to the brokers classes today. So this is my lunch break. And so I guess I don't know what I'm going to do for lunch. Maybe just like grab and go something. But I want to start off with the top of the show. We know that the Fed is going to drop rates, so we're going to be checking in on that throughout the show. If something happens early, you guys let me know, but we'll have that breaking news. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we're also broadcasting on Clubhouse. So if you want to join the conversation on Clubhouse and actually add your voice to the show, you're welcome to. Just go over to Clubhouse. You'll find us in the real estate networking group. It's one of the largest real estate networking groups in the world. And we broadcast live there so everybody can join us there too. Invite your friends, anyone in that's real estate related, investors, lenders, title companies, real estate agents, invite them over on Clubhouse too so that they could join the convo. So, all right, let's look at this first story. Plummeting support for NAR's clear cooperation policy. So if you recall, back in the day, I guess this was one of the first DOJ decisions, they came out against the clear cooperation, or they came out for the clear cooperation policy, saying that if you list a property, you have to put that property in MLS within 24 hours. You cannot hold it back as a pocket listing. And this flew in the face of a very popular website that was gaining popularity at the time. It was called the PLS.com and Top Agent Network, TAN. Both of them were pocket listing services. So you could have a property, list the property, but it's a pocket listing. You don't want it in the MLS, but you could put it in this other confidential type network and list your pocket listing there and not in the MLS. It was really like a competition or a competing network for the MLS. The Department of Justice came out and said, hey guys, you shouldn't be hiding listings. You need to make listings public for everyone when they're listed, or it was part of the settlement that maybe NAR suggested. We don't really know how that discussion went on. But the DOJ said, yeah, you can't be doing that. And they put it as part of the original settlement that they had with the DOJ. It's clear cooperation, meaning that you can't hide a listing. As soon as you list it, you have to put it out there publicly. Well, there are certain companies for this and certain companies against this. So industry leaders in favor of clear cooperation: Glenn Kelman, the Redfin CEO, Leo Parea, the EXP CEO, Stephen Brobeck, the senior fellow with the Consumer Federation of America, and Brian Borio, founder of 1000 Watt. So basically they're saying pocket listings will block certain consumers that don't ever have that opportunity on the home. The MLS needs to be a centralized platform. Companies like Zillow have big consumer audiences around the MLS data and earn significant portions of the revenue from it. The private listing limits the exposure to buyers, and so it's not good for the sellers. So that's the basic argument against, I guess, in favor of clear cooperation. It's against the pocket listings. So industry voices opposed to clear cooperation are the Austin Board of Realtors, ABOR. Mauricio Umansky, the CEO of the agency. He's also part founder of Area with Jason Haybar, as well as now I think he was a partner in the PLS originally. He was a partner in the PLS originally and now has the NLS, which if you've been to their website, we actually went to their website on our show before and showed you the national MLS. We were excited about this potentially being a place where everyone could list their properties and have one national database. Well, that is currently now behind a wall where you have to put in your email to get updates on it. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a threat of a lawsuit. I don't know if they're just updating it. It says we're making some updates given the new environment that we're in. I don't know what that means, but we don't really have access to it right now anymore. Gary Gold, who's kind of a famous real estate agent, really cool guy and a luxury agent that sold Hugh Hefner's mansion. But whenever you talk to Gary, he's super down to earth. He's a cool guy. Robert Refkin, the Compass CEO, those are all voices opposed to clear cooperation. And here's what they say. An agent should be allowed to market properties the way they see fit, based on their agreement with the sellers they represent. Banning pocket listings is an example of micromanaging and treating agents like children. Sellers should be allowed to keep their identity off the MLS. They should also have the option of having their property listed to an exclusive audience if they so choose. Refkin describes the policy as forced cooperation, anti-homeowner, and killer of value, saying it's ultimately doomed and pointing to the litigation around it. What's best for consumers? So Byron Lazine and Nicole White, they agreed that clear cooperation policy reduces the options available for home sellers, and ultimately they lean towards whatever's going to best serve the customer. So basically saying if your client doesn't want their stuff on the MLS, you shouldn't have to be forced to put their stuff on the MLS. So what do you guys think? I want to open it up for a quick conversation on it. We're not going to sit on it too long, but I want to know how you guys feel about clear cooperation. Do you want to be able to take a property and keep it off the MLS and keep it listed, but be able to talk about it publicly? Or do you think as soon as you talk about a property publicly, you then have to put it in the MLS 24 hours? What's the best solution? Matt Lamar says I have 5 minutes I can fill in. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, if you want me to go for 5 minutes while you make that quick sandwich.
Oh yeah, for my lunch. Yeah, that's good.
yeah. Sorry. The recall is strong with this one though. I think. So I'm going to give you the most realtor answer for realtors, by realtors, and with realtors. It depends. So I always go back, and I think you and I talked about this one time, like free speech, right? That's like, the First Amendment. And so to me, it's like the most important one. So what you say in public is really important. What you say in private is also really important because public is more private and private's more public than it's ever been, I feel like. And there's cameras everywhere.
You just like
how much
Kamala
time do I
Harris.
have left?
You just Kamala Harris the heck out of that.
Sorry, I've been watching too much. To do what has been done by Unburdened and the thing. So anyway, how much more time do I have left? Like
no,
3
you're
minutes?
good. You're good. Yeah.
So, okay, good. Yeah. So that's my only issue because to me, this is all about consistency, right? Our consumers want predictability when they're working with real estate agents, with realtors. And so to me, we have to be consistent in our written message. It's why Article 12 of the Code of Ethics is so strong and so long and drawn out because it's had to include things like social media now, which isn't that old, at least in the context of real estate. And so I think whatever's written should also be spoken and vice versa. I think our clients want consistency. And I think in the past, there has been a lot of inconsistency and therefore miscommunication and misinformation around what a home is and what it includes. And on that seller's disclosure, it says that fridge, but it didn't say that fridge. So, and I heard about an instance on Clubhouse this morning of inconsistency in information on the MLS, but yet it was in the contract. And it's like, this is not that hard. This is not that hard. So to me, consistency over everything, honestly. I think whatever's in the MLS should be spoken, should be advertised, should be available to everyone. And I think we're getting a little bit better about that, especially with the evidence of social media. But there's still some really bad actors, in my opinion.
So you say, to
anyway.
summarize, whatever is in the MLS should be open and available to everyone. But what if I have a listing and I only want to offer that listing to a select audience? Should that be allowed or not?
Yeah, I mean, so this is why I say it depends, right? Because our sellers ultimately are that's where our responsibility lies.
Right.
And so between the code of ethics, the law, everything else, like obviously if the seller says, hey, I want you to break the law, I'm not going to break the law, we shouldn't work together. Hey, I want you to break the code of ethics, I'm not going to do that. We shouldn't work together, right? But at the same time, if they're willing to play within the confines and parameters of the law and what NAR and GAR in Atlanta, at least here for me specifically, says, and the code of ethics and everything else, then we should be good. And so to me, if they're like, hey, don't put it on the MLS, we only want to do this, off market, or we don't want you to have to pay that fee to your local MLS to advertise.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. There are some
at the end of the day.
So This is going to be a news flash to probably 48 states that are listening to the podcast right now. But there are some, and chime in to the comments if this is your MLS. There are some MLSs that charge you a fee, a marketing fee, basically. Is it off the closing, or is it just anytime you put something in the MLS, Matt?
For us here in Georgia, it's off the closing.
So it's off the closing. So whenever you sell a property, you get charged by the MLS for selling that property.
Correct. And in addition, if you don't, like, let's say you got a 90-day listing period, if you then withdraw it or remove it or put it on hold or whatever, you could also be subject to another fee there as well.
And can I also just throw this out there, because I also know a little bit of the behind the scenes inner workings of what happens here. So the MLS charges you a fee in these places, and in some places, not naming names specifically or brokerages that do this, in some places, the MLS will then give that fee or a portion of that fee back to the broker. So the agent is charged a fee for putting something into the MLS. Then that fee is then given back to the broker, rebated to the broker. And in some companies, that fee is then not given back to the agent. So it's another income stream for brokerages, and is a big reason that it's a kickback basically, but it's a big reason why some MLSs have such a foothold on areas, because these brokers are making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from the kickback from their agents, and their agents think it's an MLS fee, and it's not an MLS fee. So that's an interesting caveat to that whole situation, which kind of goes into, why am I forced to put this in the MLS? I don't want to have to pay the fee. And brokers are going to say, no, you have to put it in the MLS. We're going to support that. Yeah, they are, because they're getting paid for it. But I think, does anyone else have a thought? Does anyone else want to jump in and tell me what you think about this clear cooperation policy? Is it a good idea, bad idea? Do you think you should have to list a property right away whenever you have that MLS or that listing agreement signed and you start to market it? Olivier, I saw you unmute.
Hey, Ray, really quick. I was listening to Matt Lamarche, and I just wanted to chime in from an appraiser standpoint and just say this. Wait, agents are not being consistent on MLS and their listings and telling the truth? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, believe it or not.
This is insane. This is madness. Yeah.
Scap the appraiser, Scap the appraiser astounded at the incompetence of input.
Well, it is accurate information, though. I can guarantee you that, Scap, for sure.
It is. Yeah. So,
especially the house measurements, Scap.
It's accurate from their standpoint, but not accurate from.
You don't even have to measure the house anymore, Scap. Just take what the agent has in there. All right, Olivier, I saw you on mute. What's up, man? Is he?
Okay. Well, sorry. Yeah, I can't. I have big tongue.
What's up?
So we actually have clear cooperation up north in Quebec. So we can't market the property until it's on MLS. But we don't have an MLS fee when we close. And the reason why I think putting it on MLS actually makes sense for 99% of the listings is, as the listing agent for my sellers, I have to get as many eyes as I can on the property, qualified eyes, where do people search for houses? At least here, they all search on MLS. All the clients search on the public MLS. They have access to all the listings. So why would we not put it on there? I could understand if you're selling a $25 million mansion where there's like a very small pool of buyers that's very curated. I could understand you not put it there. But if you're selling a whatever medium home price bungalow in whatever city you're in, like a $500,000 house in my market, there's no point in keeping it exclusive. I'll have one buyer instead of 50. So who am I benefiting? That buyer, not my client, the seller. So you have to put it on there unless you have a very specific product.
Okay. So you're saying, yes, you should definitely put it on there because it's best for the seller, no matter what the situation is, except for maybe some extreme circumstances, like something really high end. So if you're going to make a rule, you make a rule for the middle. You don't make a rule for the outliers. So if you're going to make a rule, then you should follow the rule. And the rule is put it in the MLS. Is that a good summary, Olivier?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Here's my gripe with the whole thing. Clear cooperation policy didn't stop brokerages from keeping properties in-house and selling those in-house. The rule is if you were to sell the property or market the property outside of your database or brokerage, then you had to put it in the MLS. So we have brokerages here locally that are known for trying to keep properties off the market and double end deals as a brokerage. And if they're doing that, this clear cooperation policy doesn't stop that. And in several situations, I've been doing comparative market analyses and I see this property that's sold under market value. I'm like, why is this one bringing down the neighborhood? What's happening? And I look and it's that brokerage on both sides of the transaction sold before listed. So we know that in some cases, it is not best for the seller to be listed publicly on the MLS. But we also know that in some cases, by not listing publicly, you are at risk of taking an offer that is below market value. The question is, what does the client want? In my opinion, and I think this is the workaround that everyone can be happy with, there should be a waiver signed that says, keep my property off of the MLS, or market my property off of the MLS for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is, before it then hits the public MLS. And this is the reason. One of the things we used to do all the time was coming soon marketing. We can no longer do coming soon marketing unless it's only inside of our brokerage or to our own database. So our coming soon marketing has become like me, but I want to be able to do coming soon marketing because the family that I'm listing this property for, they're cleaning up their house in order to have pictures next week. And it's going to be an amazing home. But I know there are buyers looking for a home this weekend and I want to be able to stop them and say, don't buy this weekend, wait on this house. It's going to be really great. But I can't do that currently in the current environment because of the restrictions on publicly advertising a property that I have listed that is not listed in the MLS. So I think the waiver is the workaround for all parties. Yes, I want my property marketed off the MLS. I don't want anyone to see it on the MLS. I don't care where else you put it, but you can't put it on the MLS. Or for a short period of time, I want you to be able to mark it off of the MLS. Or no, I want the property listing publicly and on the MLS. I think that has to happen so that the seller can express their desire of what they want to do. And so you can get around the nefarious behavior of some to try to double end all their deals and keep everything in-house. You can get around that by requiring this waiver to be signed that outlines, here's what you can do, here's the risk, and here's what may or may not happen. Elizabeth, I saw you unmute. Did you want to add to the convo?
We have all those same rules here. Even on our contract, you have the seller check a box whether or not they want you to list it on the MLS. And obviously, we have to list it within a certain period of time, when we publicly market it. But there is an area of the Charleston, South Carolina region that chooses not to be in the MLS. It's an island. It's a very exclusive area. Quite a few celebrities and big-name politicians have second homes there. And they just play their own game. So there are agents out there who market property on the MLS because they choose to be realtors and pay the membership fee to the MLS. And then there's this whole network of agents out there that are secret, and they're doing their own thing. And there's a handful of brokerages out there who participate in this private exclusive market. And I know for a fact, several homes that have sold out there in the last couple of years probably could have done better with public marketing. I just believe in clear cooperation, and I don't think there's anything clear about pocket listings, but I also think that they should be a lot more clear about all of the nonsense and take the terminology clear, cooperation, and use that whole terminology to try to fix this real estate commission nonsense. There ain't nothing clear about it.
It is a little more confusing than it used to be, but I think it's going to get clearer. I think the commission part of this discussion is going to get a lot clearer in the future. We also have that spot in our listing contract that says, yes, I want this to be allowed to put in the MLS. But the irony of that is if we say no, don't put it in the MLS, because of the MLS/NAR rules, we can't really market it publicly off of the MLS, even with that checked. We could be fined or whatnot. So that's the problem I have with it, is that it doesn't allow the seller to have a choice. I see Kathy in Clubhouse said the same thing. Actually, Kathy, Matt just put your comment on YouTube for you. So thank you. But Kathy Sparks said, I believe sellers should have a choice. Disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. That's kind of where I'm leaning to. I just want people to have the choice and to know what those choices are, and then to be able to select that choice. Then I have no problem with what the agent. If there's a company that says, hey, we're first going to try to sell your property in-house, and it may or may not get market value, but you don't have a whole bunch of people walking through your home, and it could sell quicker, and there's some benefits of this, and a seller says, yeah, I'm fine with that, then I'm fine with that too. I just want them to know what's going on, because then when I go visit with them after and say, actually, you way overpaid for this home, or by the way, this home, your neighbor just sold for 20% less than market value for some reason. I mean, people should know what is going on and be aware of it. As long as they're aware of it, then let's do whatever the seller wants. All right. So another side effect of this, Umansky threatens to sue NAR as pocket listing pressure mounts. So he was part of the original PLS, and that PLS lawsuit is coming back. So this should not be regulated by the National Association of Realtors or the MLS. Umansky said, I'm looking forward to refiling the PLS lawsuit against NAR. And this is what he said. In January, the suit was paused for settlement talks. And in July, NAR was dismissed from the case without prejudice, meaning the PLS.com could refile its claim against NAR at a later date. I wonder if that's why they took off the NLS, because it was, if you go to the PLS.com, I think it reroutes. Let me check. I think it reroutes to the NLS right now that is run or going to be part of AREA, which I think AREA is American Real Estate Association. Yeah. Yeah, so if you go to the PLS.com, it reroutes you to the NLS.com, which then shows you this page, coming soon. And I had already put a property on the NLS, so I don't know why it's now coming soon. I'll reach out to Jason and Mauricio and see if they can give me some news on that one. All right, so let's go to the portal wars. How much money does it cost to move from fourth or fifth to number 2? How much money in the portal wars does it cost to move from 2 or 3, or I'm sorry, 3 or 4 to number 2? The answer, about $1 billion. Only $1 billion. So this article is from Mike Del Preet. It's on his website. It says Portal War 24. Man, for what? Why can't I say that? Portal War 2024. What $1 billion in advertising buys you. The biggest upstart real estate portal in the world, CoStar's Homes.com, is comfortably settled into the number 2 spot in the U.S., but you still see this disparity between the number 2 and the number 1. It's pretty large. But number 2 is a big deal. They passed realtor.com and they passed Redfin as well. So Homes.com is a real-time case study of what it takes a portal to disrupt the status quo, and it appears to be $1 million in advertising. he digs deeper a little bit. And I'm not going to stick on this long. I mean, basically, you know the gist of this just from the headlines, but homes.com traffic has gone up. I'm wondering if any of you are members of the homes.com or if you're buying ads through homes.com. I think I'm a featured agent on there. We haven't closed anything from the leads that we've gotten, but we have gotten leads from homes.com. So what's your lead flow from homes.com? Are you getting leads? And of those leads, are you closing them? That's my curious question. And I actually contacted the rep maybe a month ago, and I was like, hey, we're not here. I mean, I looked through our database and I found all the leads we had received to the date, and there weren't a lot of great leads. And so I reached out and said, turn off our auto renewal if it's on. And when is that? He was like, oh, you're paid up for like a year still. I'm like, dang. But I got in cheap because I got in early. So I'm still going to be a featured agent, and I'll report back if that changes and we start getting better leads from it. But I want to hear from you guys. So drop into the comments. How's it working for you? Are you homes.com? Have you received leads that have led to successful closing, or are the leads just kind of random? For us right now, it's a bit random. I'm going to jump into, let me see. Yeah. Olivier says a boatload of cash. That's what it takes to become number 2. All right. So former NAR employees amend complaint details about discrimination and sexual harassment. So this was, let's see. When was this initially filed? Anyway, former employee of National Association of Realtors filed an amended complaint against the organization, which was first reported by the New York Times. The federal lawsuit accuses the organization of sexual harassment, racial discrimination, and retaliation. So Sheath worked at NER Chicago headquarters for 5 years, claims she was fired in 2019 after reporting inappropriate behavior by male supervisors. Amid the complaints filed September 10th, follows Sheath's 2020 charge with the Illinois Department of Human Rights in a lawsuit filed in June of this year. And I believe this was part of the allegation that led to, no, is this a new one? That's sad if it's a new one. She was fired October 2019. This lawsuit comes a year after the sexual harassment allegation surfaced against former NAR president Kenny Parcell, prompting his resignation. Okay, she was included in the New York Times expose of NAR's workplace culture, but she was not named in Sheath's lawsuit. Parcell was not named in Sheath's lawsuit. In June, Donna Glad, who was NAR's head of human resources at the time, Glad, along with former CEO Bob Goldberg, announced their retirement before the end of 2023. So yeah, that's a new development in that case there. We'll see what happens. Can't accuse anyone. An accusation is not guilt. However, it doesn't look good for the culture there at NAR. They're being hit on all fronts. I think 2 weeks ago, we reported that NAR was being sued by brokerages. NAR is also being sued by other portals that want to list properties and are not allowed to list properties because of the deal with the MLS. NAR is being sued by consumers, and NAR is being sued by their own employees. So I can't think of a facet or a group of people that are not currently suing or out to get NAR. Ooh, well, you could say politicians, but then you could say, well, DOJ is so closely tied, so that would also cover them. That is absolutely insane. They're in a ton of trouble. The question is solvency. Are they going to be able to remain? That's the question I have for them. So here's a question: can you sell a house to someone? Can you sell a house to someone that your client doesn't want you to sell that house to? So if I had a house listed and the seller said, hey, you can sell this house to anyone in the world, but I don't want you to sell to Matt LaMarche. And Matt LaMarche buys it. I mean, they don't like you.
What, does it not have a third car garage? I mean, come on.
Jessica just subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thanks, Jessica, for subscribing. Jessica Harness. I think that was her. If you know what she heard me say, if you don't want to sell to Matt LaMarche, and was instantly like, I'm subscribing.
You're welcome.
That's what she said. She said, this is great content. So the question is, can you get in trouble? So if your seller says, don't sell to Matt LaMarche, and you sell to Matt LaMarche, can you get in trouble? There's a poll. Drop in the comments, pause the video if you're watching this on the replay, but drop in the comments, can you get in trouble for this? Or is this some kind of discriminatory behavior? So what do you think? Discrimination? Mia says, yes, you can get in trouble. Got some folks in the comments on Armando said dogs and cats are not suing NAR yet. And that is true. Atacapa
Matt's going to sue you.
Yes, you could get sued.
Yeah, Matt's going to sue you if he finds out about it. That's for sure.
You would sue Matt? Based on what grounds? Based on what grounds?
I feel discriminated against.
But it's you personally. You personally are not a protected class.
Yeah, now we're getting into some defamation and libel and things that you have to now substantiate that. No, you do.
I didn't say anything bad about you, Matt. I just said you couldn't buy this house. You can't buy the house. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right,
Ray, why can't I buy your client's house?
This is a real situation. So here it is. Add to stage. There it is. The owner who sold Billionaire Bunker mansion at a discount sues realtor for not disclosing Jeff Bezos was the buyer. So it sounds from the headlines like, oh, he just figured out that a really rich dude bought his house and was upset that he sold it at a discount. That's not the whole story. So the man who sold Jeff Bezos his posh mansion for $79 million near Miami Beach is suing the realtor who handled the sale, saying the realtor concealed the name of the buyer, potentially costing him up to $6 million. Leo Chris, founder of Brazilian toy and electronics company Tecto, filed a lawsuit against Douglas Elliman, alleging the real estate firm CEO told him personally that Bezos was not the buyer of the 7-bedroom, 14-bathroom home, which sits on a 2.8-acre estate. Douglas Elliman failed to fulfill their duties to our client. They knew or should have known who the ultimate beneficial purchaser was and misrepresented an important fact to our client. That's what the attorney said. Chris put the home up for sale last year with an $85 million price tag. Bezos initially purchased the property next door for $68 million. He later anonymously offered $79 million on Chris's estate. Chris asked if Jeff was the person who put in the offer. His lawsuit states that the Douglas Elliman CEO, Jay Parker, said Bezos was not the buyer and that the purchaser would not agree to go above $79 million for the property. The lawsuit alleges that Celine Klepach, the real estate agent who handled the sale, is the daughter of Benny Klepach, the mayor of Indian Creek, and the newspaper reported. After the sale, Chris learned that Bezos had made the offer. He wouldn't have agreed to cut down the price by 7% had he known. So it's not really discrimination. It's not really saying, well, this one individual person can't buy it. But what he's saying is this one individual person would have had to pay more than everyone else, which is kind of the same. Marilyn Archie bringing the heat, saying the Fed needs to raise rates, period. All right, we'll see. I think he's going to lower it probably, Marilyn. I thought this was a really, really interesting. I don't know if this is allowed or not, to be honest. I think the part of it that is probably not allowed is lying to your client about who the purchaser is. But if they could prove that they really didn't know who the purchaser was, then they haven't lied. I'm sure it was bought under a different name and then put into Jeff's name later. Jeff, like he's my buddy. Olivier said the seller was happy with the price, like a baby crying over spilled milk. Yeah. I don't understand I guess he's just mad about losing potentially $6 million. I've never lost that much money.
Okay. Yeah. But Ray, the guy was happy with 79 million. And I could have, if I would have pulled out, maybe he would have paid more. Well, you didn't, and you were happy with the price. take your money and do something else. It's like a rich person problem, first world problem, right?
It seems like the company would have been better served saying, if they didn't know who the buyer was, saying, I don't know who the buyer is. Why does it matter? They're not going to go over 79 million if it was Jeff Bezos. That would be a more interesting critique, I think, if that's what they said versus it's not Jeff Bezos. They're not going to go over 79 million. But maybe they didn't know, because Walmart purchases a lot of property and they don't purchase it as Walmart. They purchase it as a shell or shelf company. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see how this one shakes out. I sent it to my, cause I am in brokers classes. I sent it to the teacher of our brokers classes, cause I thought it was such an interesting topic. Like, is this allowed or is this discrimination to not sell to Matt LaMarche? I think we can all agree to not sell to Matt LaMarche is totally fine.
That's true. Definitely. I have a question. How is this any different when you have 20 multiple offers and the agent puts it on a spreadsheet, doesn't put their name on it? It just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sends it over to the seller. Okay, because they don't want them to, sway one way or the other for, denomination or anything.
But isn't it the seller's right to choose?
No.
It is.
No.
The seller
is not.
It is the seller's right. The agent cannot. But the seller can sell to whoever they want or not sell to whoever they want.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have to agree to disagree. The seller, like if you put your home up for sale by owner, that seller can sell or not sell to whoever they want. They can look at all the peoples and their nationalities and creeds and colors. They could advertise their property as saying for sale to everyone except and list a protected class. They could totally, I'm not an attorney, but they could totally do that. They can sell or not sell to anyone they want. An agent is not allowed to discriminate. An agent can't say, I'm not going to sell to this or that protected class, or, hey, Mr. Seller, here's some information that you may want to know because I know you hate these people. Here's 2 or 3 offers from people that are not those people. And then these are the people that you hate. An agent can't participate in anything like that, but it is completely the right of the seller to say, hey, you know what? These people that have made this offer, they're my friends. And I'm willing to sell to them a little bit lower than I would sell to the general public because I want my friends to have the house. That is completely okay.
Couldn't Bezos just come in and say, yes, I would have paid 20 million more, or no, I wouldn't have paid a penny more, and settle it?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Mia, the closest I've gotten to this is back in 2021 when things were probably at the height here in Atlanta, at least. I had a seller specifically say in my listing appointment, we do not want to sell this to an investment company, an investment firm, a financial institution. I said, okay, well, if we get multiple offers, which we're likely to at this price point in this area, you will have the right to select whatever offer you want. And let's just hope that it's someone, an individual, home buyer, John and Susie Smith. But, technically they're not discriminating against financial institutions or anything else. And Ray's right. It's a sticky situation for us because all we're doing in some states is acting as a fiduciary, which is that's the simplest form of our representation for them is to do what's best for them. That's also in the code of ethics, by the way. But you can't tell them we're going to only sell to this particular group or that particular group, or we're not going to sell to this particular group or that particular group. But like Ray said,
it says in the fair housing that they can't publicly say that. So I guess they could do that privately, but they can't publicly come out and say, hey, I don't want to sell to this or that race, creed, or color.
Yeah.
But they can do that without saying that.
Right. Yeah. My sellers all the time will go and Google people. I can't stop them from doing that.
It says they can't refuse to sell or to negotiate or make housing unavailable. I know that a landlord can't do this for sure, but I thought it was that a homeowner could do that. But what it's saying is a homeowner can do that. They just can't say they're doing that. So basically a homeowner can sell or not sell to anyone they want to. They just can't make that statement of I'm doing it because this or that reason.
Right.
That's correct. Sorry, I misspoke earlier.
Yeah, and just a point here, because are you done with your second sandwich yet? The comments on Clubhouse, I can drag some of those over, but I can't drag all of them. So go to the YouTube channel and watch it there and comment there, please, because there's no algorithm.
I'll try to check them. I'm checking a little bit. Let's see. Armando says Bezos didn't buy it. The LLC did. And Adipeka says that truly legal under the no, it's not legal under the Fair Housing Act. Sorry, Adipeka, I was wrong. The rule is they're going to sell to whoever they want to, but they just can't announce why they're selling to one person or another. And it's going to be almost impossible to tell. But I know as a professional, because of the NAR, I know anyone involved in the transaction as a pro, they have a certain code of ethics that we have to go by, and we truly cannot say or cannot advertise or cannot give any. For instance, if somebody sends me a buyer love letter, that was in the news a long time ago. A buyer love letter saying, "Hey, here's our buyer. Aren't they wonderful? Look at this beautiful photo of these people." It's iffy on if I can ever pass that buyer love letter to my seller. And it's recommended in Arkansas not to, because that opens up the door for discrimination based on race, creed, color, religion, etc. That the seller can then say, well, this is what so we can't participate in anything that could connect us to that. But sending a seller your offers, that there's nothing you can do for that. If they choose to look up the people, they choose to look up the people. But there's nothing that, we should be sending them the whole offer. I don't like the idea of taking taking a spreadsheet and putting that on the top, because the liability is so huge. If you make one typo and they select the wrong offer, or they get pissed off later because they didn't see that their best friend had put in an offer with another agent and know it was a couple of grand lower, had they known that, they would have sold to their best friend. It's too risky. And I think we could get into more trouble that way. So I send all of the offers in a multiple offer situation to my clients, and I let them make the decision. But I then present every offer. So I call, and we just had a situation which I had 20 offers, and with those 20 offers, I went through every single offer with my client until they said, no, we don't want this one, we want the next one. Now, I didn't pay much attention to the person's name or the company in which that came from. We just went through the facts of the offer. So looking at the facts of the offer, this is what they selected. And they wound up selecting 2 offers, got a backup offer. And the person, I don't know if they went through all the offers and had it written down and here's the one that we want to select based on what I looked up on Facebook about this person. I have no idea, but that part is nothing that I addressed, because that's not a concern for me. I'm just looking at the deal. So I think that's kind of what Mia is saying. Don't give people an opportunity to do something against the Fair Housing Act as much as possible. I completely agree with. But I think we have to send them all the offers, and then they're going to choose whichever one they want to. And if Jeff Bezos' name on there, and they'll say, we'll sell to everyone, but if this guy buys it, I want 6 million more. They can do that. That's Jeff Bezos is not a protected class. But they could not say, hey, I want to charge someone of this race, creed, or color more. They can't do that. Scap on YouTube says, what's it worth appraisers? What's it worth appraisals? Matt Lamarche is known for low offers.
Yeah, until I'm representing Jeff Bezos, and then you're all going to be screwed, and then you won't accept my offers. I mean, it's pretty clear to me.
Now there are some instances in which the fair housing doesn't apply, and it is like housing for older persons is exempt from the familial status discrimination. Let's see, what are the others? There's a couple of others. There's like 2 or 3. They're age-based. This is going to be on my test as a broker, so I should know this. Housing of at least one person, 55 or older. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay. All right, here it is. HUD has determined that it's specifically designed for and occupied by elderly persons under the federal, state, or local government program. It's 100% occupied by persons 62 or older, and it houses at least one person 55 or older in at least 80% of the occupied units, and adheres to the policy that demonstrates the intent to house persons 55 or older. So that's where you're getting your senior living communities. Mikey Conrad, what's up, buddy? He says bald head discrimination for Bezos. Bald is beautiful, man. We get great deals on stuff. Okay, so to recap, what I think is the right answer is that a real estate agent, company, or group could specifically discriminate against the individual Jeff Bezos. Because the individual Jeff Bezos or Matt LaMarche is not a protected class. So you could say if this guy's buying, he has to pay more. I think you could put that out there. But they could not say white dudes have to pay more because white dudes is a protected class. So you could target a specific buyer and to say to him he has to pay more because he owns the property next to it. I know it's most valuable to him. But the question is, did the broker make a misstep when they said, no, it's not Jeff Bezos buying this property? And we discussed, just to recap, a regular homeowner is covered under the Fair Housing Discrimination Act. However, proving that's going to be nearly impossible because when you go for sale by owner, you're dealing directly with the seller and they're going to pick who they want. So there's that. Okay. I want to talk about a scam. The Wolf of West Virginia. Have any of you had experience with this dude? Wolf of West Virginia, Teddy Miller, the boss, was his TikTok. You know how they have Instagram versus reality? This guy is Instagram versus reality. Theodore Teddy Miller. I wish he was Teddy Theodore Miller. He set up a real estate scam with his mom, invested in a few Benjamins to present himself to someone who knows a thing or two about creating wealth, and based the evidence, he was faking it. He called himself the Wolf of West Virginia. He managed to swindle a number of victims online with his crass profanity-laden pitches or fraudulent investment schemes. What's interesting about this is how many others are there that are doing this right now. Meet Theodore Teddy Miller, aka the Wolf of West Virginia. Miller allegedly ran real estate investment scam through his own company, Bear Industries LLC, and with assistance with his mother, who provided administrative support, received more than $170,000 from investors. Miller promised investors guaranteed returns through his real estate projects, but prosecutors say he didn't actually own the properties he referred to. In fact, he presented himself as a wealthy real estate mogul who could guarantee successful investments, and he actually had poor credit, little money in the bank, and a record of loan defaults and tax delinquency. Dun, dun, dun. From one of his videos, my company pays some pretty good effing profits to its investors. You can get started with as little as $100 effing bucks. See what effing happens, all the way up to $1 million effing dollars. As long as you remember the golden rule that you can't make money if you're effing peeing. What? I don't know what that word. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, legal consequences and fallout. Miller returned to the U.S. on August 8th after spending more than 2 years abroad. He was arrested the next day. Courts show he's currently being held without bail. The SEC filed a civil complaint against Drum, Miller's mother's accomplice, seeking to recover the ill-gotten funds. Miller gained notoriety in 2020 when he first called himself the Wolf of West Virginia and promoted a bar with a female staff dressed in schoolgirl uniforms. So be careful out there, guys. Don't trust everything you see on TikTok. You can go back and look at some of his stuff, and hopefully now that you know, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's totally outlandish. But I would really hope that you would think it's outlandish before you knew the details. Hashtag no filter. Speaking of no filter, goodbye to filters, says Zillow's AI-powered home search. It's smarter than ever. Have y'all used this? Yeah, I haven't used the Zillow home search tool in a long time, but it's supposedly getting smarter. It's a new natural language filter. So natural language is like ChatGPT. So whenever you type into ChatGPT, you just type words like you would normally talk to an individual. And when you just use it like you talk to a regular individual, it's actually when you get the best results. It's a natural language model. Well, now there's new natural language filters that enable users to search for their home using simple everyday language. So now homeowners and renters can find their next home more quickly with details like commute time, affordability, schools, nearby points of interest. So here's a few examples of the search. You could say homes 30-minute drive from the Minneapolis Institute of Art. I mean, I wouldn't talk like that, but that's an example of one. Austin homes under 400,000, or Salem, or homes under 3,000 monthly. Homes under 350,000 in school district, or 3-bedroom homes near school. So what's interesting about this, I think probably SCAP would have to be like homes 300 yards from school, right? SCAP. But I think, I wonder if you could actually use that like that. The interesting part about this is, where do they get the data? Because back to exactly what SCAP was saying about data entry, if they're pulling the data from the MLS, especially school zone and school district information, if they're not overlaying that from information from that specific school district, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because I know that school district information that's input to the MLS is oftentimes not correct. So
wait, did you just once again say that MLS information inputted by an agent is not often correct?
Yes,
this is a great show.
After putting you down, but yes, I did. Zillow leads the industry in machine learning. Hopefully it can learn where those school districts are. That's the biggest question is still, you could have the greatest natural language model in the world, but if the data you put into the repository is bad, then you're going to naturally find things with your language model that is inaccurate. But I'm anxious to see how this works. A natural language model search, I think that's where everything's going to go to. I think Google's going to go to that in the future, where you could just basically type a sentence into Google and you can find what you're looking for better that way. I think everything's going that direction. So it's only a matter of time as people learn to use ChatGPT more and more. Then I think it's all going to head that way. All right. So let's talk about this rate cut. We're about maybe 10 minutes from the news. This article says that a smaller rate cut is likely after hotter than expected CPI report, but Fed has options. Marilyn, are you there? This is the take. I want your take on. Core CPI, which excludes volatile food and energy categories, increased to 0.3% from a month ago in August. That's above expectations of 0.2% increase. Some of the core CPI increase came from volatile categories such as apparel and airline fares, but the lion's share came from an uptick in housing inflation. The rent of a primary residence and owner's equivalent rent categories both jumped 0.2% to 0.3 month over month and 0.3 to 0.4 month over month, respectively. However, backwards looking categories do not reflect the current economic conditions. Slightly firmer than expected inflation alongside a labor market that doesn't appear to be deteriorating further will take 25 basis point cut. The easy choice will make a 25 basis point cut the easy choice for the Fed next week. That's this week. That's today. This article is from Friday. But larger cuts are still a possibility. So what do you think? What do you think it's going to be? A 25 basis point, 50 basis point? Drop into the comments and tell me. What do you think it's going to be?
None or 25?
You think 0 or 25?
Yep.
The
10-year bond yield's up a little bit this morning, and usually somebody knows something. As far as stuff gets leaked.
Drop in the comments what you guys think. Here's another article on it. The Fed is poised for its first rate cut in years, but it may be too soon to refinance your mortgage. The Federal Reserve is poised Wednesday to make its first interest rate cut since March of 2020. Isn't that wild how long ago it was? Some owners shouldn't bet on the move as an opportunity to immediately refinance their mortgage. A lot of rate cuts are already priced in, said Chen Zhao, the economic research lead at Redfin. Let's see. While mortgage rates are partially influenced by the Fed's policy, they're also tied to the Treasury yields. So there's two ways we kind of use the Fed information. One of the most common ways is we use it in marketing to say, hey, the Fed cut rates. Come check it out. Now may be a good time to buy. And that is true, but this article is also true. The rates don't usually drop right after the Fed cuts, it's usually in advance of when people think the Fed is going to cut based on the clues that the Fed has given about cuts. Now, I would say that if it is like a 1 point cut or something crazy like that, I think that would be huge news, and I don't know what would happen. That would be crazy. But that could, if the rate cut is larger than what the market has already priced in, then it could send rates plummeting. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a 25 basis point cut. And when it is, that has already been priced in. And it's just going to be just kind of like a little blip on the radar as far as current interest rates go. I think it's already been priced in. The article says it's going to be a much smaller wave. Refinance activity increased 46.7% of total applications during the week ending September 6th. That's up from 46.4% the week before. So, and that's because the rates have already started to drop. Falling mortgage rates mean housing payments are now more affordable than a year ago. The median U.S. monthly housing payment was $2,558 during the 4 weeks ending September 8th. That's nearly down to where it was at the start of the year and down 1.3% from a year earlier. Declining house payments. Let's see. Pending home sales are down 7.8% annually. It's the biggest decline in nearly a year, except for a 4-week period, partially due to home prices, but other factors are at play too. Yeah, then it refers to the CPI report, which we already talked about. So one interesting thing that's happening among all of this, Skep says, I see no rate cut. T-minus 2 minutes, sir. Let me go ahead and bring up the breaking news so that we can see what's going to happen.
You know, Ray, the reason I say that, and maybe I'm just wrong on this, but because rates have kind of dropped already, I'm seeing a lot of refinances and a lot of refi appraisal orders coming over from a lot of the different terrible AMCs out there. And maybe it's because of all those people that had the higher rates, but because they've dropped, we're seeing a much tick up in refinances, happening right now. So, I mean, that could... To me, that just kind of is like signaling, well, maybe they won't do anything because you got people refining at these rates that have lowered a little bit already. So I don't know if they're going to maybe crash the whole thing and drop them more. So that's just my thought process.
Yeah.
If they go 50, they're going to have people are going to accuse them of putting their finger on the scale in terms of an election year. And also, there was an article on Resi Pro. I don't know if you guys subscribe to that, but a really good one about the spread tightening recently and the expectations going forward for it to continue to tighten.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think if this is a 25 basis point cut, a lot of people may see it as playing politics too, because the election and all that's going on there. And genuinely, I think there should be a slight rate cut. If it's 50 basis points, that's when I would say, nah, there's something up. There's something up that we don't know about or something we need more information on. So we'll see. It should be released right now. I don't see the update yet, so we'll keep looking over there. Demand for second home mortgages falls to an 8-year low. And I think that's partially due to what's going on with the Airbnb market. There's a lot more Airbnb VRBO inventory than there ever has been, and that was making that secondary market go crazy. Another thing that was making the secondary market go crazy is all the people that were saying, hey, I can work from anywhere, so I'm going to go work from the beach. And then they have been recalled. I think Amazon actually asked all of their employees to come back. It was either Amazon or it was either, oh my goodness. Hang on. Breaking news from This Week in Real Estate. Federal Reserve slashes interest rates by a half point. A half point. An aggressive start to its first easing campaign for the first 4 years. That's a very, very aggressive start. It says, this is breaking news. Please check back for updates. Yeah, well, let's see how the market reacts to that. I think most people are thinking 25 basis point. He comes in and cuts 50. I think you're going to hear a lot of people in politics talking about this. Now, I think you could have avoided that with a 25 and a 25. Interesting. I felt like inflation was still a little bit too high for a 50 basis point cut. Okay.
But Ray, it's what we discussed in the contributors chat. The labor market is getting crunched really quickly, so the economy is going down faster than people actually realize it right now. So that's probably why they're acting 50 basis points. I mean, in Canada, we're down 75 basis points in the last 3 months. So you guys were actually a bit late. So I'm not totally surprised by what they just did.
I am a little shocked because he said the reason why I'm shocked is because he came out and said, I know people think we're playing politics with these numbers, but we don't. And most economists and most everyone I see out there says 25 and you wait. Because in order to stop inflation, you have to have slower expansion of business. You have to have more unemployment into the market. And that's how inflation stops, because more people stop making orders for things. And if you lower the rate like this, it is, I mean, you're bordering on sending signals of expansion. And if you do that, you're not going to have the people laying people off. You're not going to have, like you were talking about in the contributor chat, Olivier, people with leases getting rid of their lease. That's going to slow down. I don't know. I feel like this is a little herky jerky, which, I mean, he's done that before. March 2020 and previously, I mean, the way that the rates went down to zero and just stayed there for way too long. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think that was a little much. We'll see how the market reacts to it. I mean, it's no doubt. Let me refresh and see if there's any updates to it already. Yeah. Washington, the Federal Reserve enacted its first interest rate cut since the early days of the COVID pandy, slicing 0.5 percentage point from its benchmark rates in an effort to head off a slowdown in the labor market. With both jobs picture and inflation softening. It's softening, but it hasn't. So if you look at inflation, we're still up like 30% from 2021. So yes, inflation may not be going up as much, but we're still 30% higher than what we were. Thanks, Tone, for joining us. Tone is in here saying, what are my thoughts on the 0.5 cut? 50 basis points is a lot. Outside of the emergency rate cuts in COVID, the last time they cut by 0.5 point was in 2008 during the global financial crisis. That sums up my feelings. That seems like a lot. The decision lowers the federal funds rate. In addition to this reduction, the committee indicated through its dot plot the equivalent of 50 more basis points cut by the end of the year. The matrix of individual officials' expectations pointed out another full percentage cut by the end of 2025. That's what I would prefer. Just going to the 1% cut by the end of 2025 and seeing how the 0.5 plays out over the next three or 4 months or so. I would definitely not plan another 0.5 point by the end of the year. I don't think we're in a depression or a recession. The committee has gained greater confidence that the inflation is moving substantially towards 2%, and judges' risk to achieve employment and inflation goals are roughly in balance. Tone says that's crazy for next cuts years. That's crazy cuts for next year's. Yeah. The decision came in light of progress in inflation of balance of risk. 11-1 vote. Governor Mike Bowman preferring a 0.25 point move. All right. Well, there we are. We'll see what happens. Let me hit the rest of these articles pretty quickly. But we are seeing less demand in the second homes. That's what we were talking about right before we got into the Fed cut. Maybe this will help, right? You drop rates by that much. Maybe people are going to be more willing to purchase homes that are in the higher price points as mortgage rates go down further. So we are seeing that. I think the reason why we're seeing that is because people aren't making the money off of their short-term rental that they thought they were, and more people are being recalled into the office. So mortgage rate locks for second homes have fallen 13% since last summer. And that's just going to be natural given those factors. U.S. home prices rose 0.5% in August. That's the biggest increase in 4 months. We have seen a very much a slowing of home price increases. And I've said for a long time, I don't see home prices going down anytime soon. Now, especially not with a 0.5% decrease in the rate. But I think that these home prices are going to kind of level off for a long time. So I don't anticipate huge increases like we previously saw, but I do think we're going to see a more levelized home price increase over the next couple of years until it gets caught up. Home listings are up more than 60%. This is another reason why we're not going to see huge increases in home prices, because there is more inventory than there ever has been. And I said, I think 2 weeks ago, just check with your photographer and ask your photographer how they're doing, because our photographer is super busy. They only had one availability left for this week. So extremely busy. And when we were listing stuff last year, he was like, oh yeah, I'm free whenever. So now he's like, I only have one spot next week. So check with your photographer to figure out what's happening to inventory. So you could get an early in on it. But the supply of homes for sale is still low by historical standards, but rising quickly. Nationwide listings in August were up 36% compared with the same month of the year ago. According to a new report from realtor.com, that was the 10th straight month of annual growth. Supply is still, however, 26% lower than in August of 2019. So there's more people wanting to buy, but inventory is still 26% lower than it was in August pre-pandy. That's a wild stat. All right, 2 more articles. Existing home sales and pending sales fall to the lowest level since the pandy start, as house hunters wait for mortgage rates to drop further. And this could be the sign. Existing home sales fall to the lowest level. Oh man, it's lower than 2012, right? Yeah. So there's way more real estate agents in the market, and there is a much smaller pie for each one of the agents because there's fewer sales and fewer transactions than there was 12 years ago. And then the last article is that builder sentiment rises as rates fall, but affordability challenges persist. Thanks to lower rates, builders now have a positive view for the future home sales for the first time since May of 2024, said NAHB chair Carl Harris. Sorry, not Chris Carl Harris. I don't know why let me just throw in another name. However, the cost of construction remains elevated relative to household budgets, holding back some enthusiasm for current housing market conditions. Moreover, builders will face competition from rising existing home inventory. In many markets, the mortgage rate and lock-in effect still softens with slower mortgage rates. So I think we're going to see that a lot. As more and more resale homes come on the market, it is going to provide more competition on the new builds, but a lot of people that want to buy a new build would not consider a resale. We have been experiencing that. So I think the resale homes, the competition is going to be stiff enough where they're going to have to be doing some remodeling too. So I don't, to maximize the value, I think it's going to have to be, they got to change the carpet or get rid of it. They got to paint the walls. They can't have the taupe walls from 15 years ago. Or the gray walls are kind of starting to go out too. Do you guys see that? Where there's less gray, there's more light colors. Almost, it's not pastel, but it's just like light colors around the house. It's and less gray. And I guess that's kind of it from this article. That was from the NAHB, National Association of Home Builders. And that is that, guys. So thanks for joining me on the show today. This was fun. I love the rousing debate. Thanks, Mia, for somebody tag her. Thanks, Mia, for correcting me on the thing and making me go look that up, because that's an important fact. What was that noise? Did somebody? Where did that come from? The doot. Did y'all hear that? No. Okay, that was just me. Are you sure about that? That's one of my favorite memes right now. All right, everyone. Thanks. Let me know what you think of this half-point cut. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? What's it going to do to the economy? Are you going to see more people jumping in to purchase a house because they saw this, even though I guess it was probably the 25 basis point cut that was priced into the market, but we'll find out. We'll see what happens with the market now. It's interesting. Either it's, man, I hate to say it's politics, but gosh, that has all the markers. When all the economists and everyone's saying, hey, I think it's going to be a 25 basis point cut, and then suddenly, bam, it's 50. That's got us thinking. So let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments. If you watch this on YouTube replay, drop that in the comments too. Let me know what you think. And we'll see what happens next week. I'll be back. So thanks, guys, for joining me. I got to get back to the class. Maybe go find some lunch. Bye.